What's up, everyone? It's your boy Scott. Welcome to the Scott Report, and today we are here to talk about a series I've been waiting for quite some time, and that is Back Arrow. The series that is a mecha series, and it gave me an excuse to try to give this weekly thing a shot again. Well, you know, that and Ruby Recaps, which is now on a break until I think like another 4 weeks. So to pad that out, and while I try to get the schedule together, we are going to get into Back Arrow because I am a mecha guy. I love mecha. I've said this many times on this channel. And one of the things is also I've been doing as of late is I've been putting together a lot of gunpla. Like, this has been my recent build, which is the RG Force Impulse. This thing is amazing. I just want to show this off for a second, guys. And I'm not done yet. I still have to do the back flyer. But look at the detail on this thing. I'm so happy with this. It just looks so good. And I still have to do the back flyer. And for a while, incorporating, you know, gunpla builds into the channel is something I wanted to do as well, but I don't know how I'm going to work that out yet. So that's something in the far future, maybe. Anyway, back on track. We're here to talk about Back Arrow, the series that is coming from the director of Code Geass. It's also the writer of Kill la Kill, PROMARE La Lagann, as well as PROMARE. So in a way, this is kind of a spiritual successor to maybe a Trigger series. I mean, with the people that you have behind it. I mean, what you have as a director and a writer, and I really need this in my life. We need more mecha anime. You know, Gundam only comes every few years, and it seems like it's been longer than usual for us to wait for you to get a series, because I don't really count Build Fighters because, you know, that's not really centered in the universe. I mean, I love Gundam. As you can see, I'm an avid gunpla builder, so when I saw the opportunity to actually do another mecha series on the channel, I jumped to it because the last one I did here was like Darling in the Franxx. So yeah, we're gonna start this with a bang. We're starting off 2021 with Back Arrow. Gonna do weekly recaps / reviews like I'm doing with Ruby. We're gonna follow it from there. And this is my first impressions, but I can tell you guys already, I like it. But just by me saying I like it and go watch it wouldn't be too much of a video with it. And get back into the swing of things. The first impressions, let's break down Back Arrow and what it's about. The series takes place in a world called Lingaland, and it's basically how they're explaining it, and you know it's going to be something bigger too, is that this is a planet that's surrounded by a wall, and within this wall there's two different nations that divide humanity. There's the supremacy of Luto, who value intelligence over everything, and then it's the Republic of Rekka, who are more on the side of valor, as it's explained to us. The Republic of Rekka are at odds with Luto. This nation, they're battling over some type of resource called Rakuho, which are basically treasures from the heavens. And overall, you know, the importance of what these things are, you know, that's going to be, I guess, the gist of the series. That's going to be some of the gems that we're going to have to break down to, but it's important enough for everybody to fight over it. We just don't get too much information on what they are right now, besides being pods just falling from the sky. But with that being said, and how people are going about what these things are, let's get this out of the way. If people act like they don't see aliens coming in this series, at some point, like how they freaked out with Darling and Franxx, and it's clearly right there's going to be some type of supernatural element involved in this series, then yeah, you haven't been paying attention. I'm probably going to rant about it, because don't be surprised if you see aliens in this series. I mean, come on, look at it. You're going to go to space at some point. In fact, I would prefer for this to go to space based off of what we got. So just had to get that out the way. Let's get back to the episode. But without further ado, the main premise of Back Arrow is centered around a man by the name of Back Arrow, who crash lands in this city with absolutely no memory of who he is. But what he does know is that he has to get beyond the wall to reclaim his memory, or reclaim his rightful place per se. And this premise, it reminds me very much of the early 90s series Tekka Man Blade, or if you had the television syndication like I did when I was a kid growing up, Techno Man. It just reminds me a lot of that cartoon and kind of the whole, you know, Saturday, Sunday morning type of field. I mean, it has a lot of things that you can post off in the check marks. I mean, post-apocalyptic world, check. Protag with no memory but has a badass transformation in the suit of armor, check. And more people who also have more armor, who he's probably going to fight and unlock more of his memories as we go along. Probably a monster of the week type of thing, check. So it has all those things, and it has like a really I would say refreshing feel. It has more of a kind of a throwback feel. Again, I do already see early where it might turn into kind of Monster of the Week type of format, but that's not always a bad thing as long as it's executed well and it's in a shorter format. Overall, I know we're probably going to get story arcs and we have a big main, premise of the show so far. But you can easily see just by coming into this episode and what we got in the first episode is an opportunity for them, if they go with mobile suits for these, or like Gunpla, for example, or model kits, they have the opportunity to push a lot of different forms of formations and, make a little bit of money on it because it is an original series. And I can kind of see him going against somebody different every week. I think that's probably going to be a gist of the format, or maybe it will be earlier on. Because when you get to the overall plot, this first episode was really coy. I mean, it was a lot of things thrown at you and they didn't exactly spell things out. But what we do know is that Mecha as a nation has been waiting for this prophecy of the Phoenix to fall, and that ends up being our main character. So I'm definitely think we're going to dive into that more along the lines later. But the series overall, I like the look and feel of it. It's very vibrant. It has a charm to it and a personality that actually feels kind of like a polished old school series. I mean, this is coming from Studio Volon, and they are familiar with taking like older type of properties and putting a new spin on them. I mean, the things that they worked on recently was Ushio Totoro as well as Katakuri Circus, who were both very older properties, primarily in the 90s, and they kept that 90s look and feel to it, but just brought it up to modern times. And that's kind of what you see with Back Arrow. Is like, if you didn't know this was a original property, you can definitely see this being something that would have ran in the 90s with the look and feel of it, and I think that was intentional. And much like those works before, you can definitely tell that it was inspired by a more simpler time. I mean, just the flow of the episode and how everything went as well, it really does, and I'm going to use this a lot, and I probably have already, it really does just feel Saturday morning-ish, even though it comes on Fridays. This is like a series you kick back, you get you a bowl of cereal, and you just watch when you were a kid, and it just has that type of feel that it might have even been on syndication. I mean, there's some things there, of course, they would have to censor because of anime, but the overall vibrantness, the lightheartedness, and dare I say it, the little bit of the trigger elements that it has as far as, with the characters and them having like these boisterous personalities, and even though, the people that they are pushing, at least for now, as the protagonist and the antagonist, they all have this kind of ham or this camp or this comedic side to them that's really refreshing to see. It was just a fun watch overall, but there are some things that could kind of bring it down as well because nothing's perfect. Another series that this reminds me of as well is Escride, because the feel of it and how they're being like kind of in this wasteland, and the characters, they're gonna battle in these suits of armor more along the lines of transformation. Even though they are giant, they are big robots, it's more like they transform into them, more like you would see kind of like the Henshin phases, like with Power Rangers and Kamen Rider and things like that. Back Arrow has a mecha series at heart, but again, the suits, the firepower, the variations, and the type of things that you're going to see is what I'm really looking forward to for the series. These massive suits or armors are called Breitheits. I believe I'm pronouncing that correctly. They're called Breitheits, and each one of them will be personalized to the person that has it. And I think this is where the show is really going to glow and shine, because as each person uses their Breiheit, the abilities that they have and the powers that they have within them are powered by their convictions. Like, the character, one guy that was fighting in this episode, he was like kind of the bad guy. He was like, I'm gonna put you into this vice grip, and long as I, have the conviction that I don't want you to get away, I'm just gonna get stronger the more you struggle. We don't know Back Arrows, of course, because that's gonna be the mystery of actually finding out his identity. There was a female character in here who's, I think her conviction was just to never lose. So it's going to be things like that, and seeing how they're going to play around with this narrative and how the convictions and how it works with the Breitheits. That's going to be the interesting part of the series. And as long as it doesn't get too wild and outlandish, which it already has the door open to be, but with the writer that is on this, doing things like Gurren Lagann and PROMARE, it is going to get crazy. Let's just hope it stays as a likable crazy. And speaking of characters, there is one character I want to highlight in particular who comes from the Republican of Mecha, and his name is Kai Rodon. He's introduced in a way that you can kind of see where he's going with his path as far as a character. I mean, as of right now, because we don't know what side is what, besides we know wherever Back Arrow lands is who we're going to be rooting for, he doesn't come off completely as a villain. It seems like he's going to be more of a rival to Back Arrow, maybe even an ally after they have a few battles, or maybe it'll be some mutual respect there. But you can easily see this guy being more like the second main character of this series. He has that look, he has that feel, he has that conviction, you know, that conviction of that I am proud, I am mighty, and my robot is better than yours, so I'm gonna kick your butt no matter what until someone knocks him on his butt. Meanwhile, you know, you have Arrow. When you're dealing with him and his story, he lands in the city called Edger Village, and this village is pretty interesting because while we've seen that, you know, Ito and I forgot the other place, so Luto, and we've seen Rekka, they look more like they're technology advanced when it comes to things. This city of Edger Village is kind of the outskirts, and it does resemble the Wild Wild West. They're a little bit less technology sound. They have technology there, but it seems like they're more of the common people, while the two people within the village, because Edger Village from the name is on the edge of the walls, they just don't have the same technology as everyone else. It looks like they still do have Brightheights, as we also center on another female character in this series, and it's going to take a while to get to know everybody in this series because it has a vast cast. I mean, there is a lot of things that they threw at you in this first episode. There's a lot of characters that they threw at you in the first episode. So maybe they're going to have importance, but it's a big cast to keep up with, and that's one of the things I will probably say that gave me a little bit of a downer on it, not in a bad way. It was just a little bit intimidating to get introduced to all these people who may very well matter or even have their own Brightheights at one point, and just expect you to remember them so far. And I'm pretty sure at least a majority of them are going to play a big role. But again, you know, with Edger City, more of a Wild West type of feel to it. And I'm pretty sure some type of war that may have happened that made them the way that they are, as far as why they're on this part of the city instead of the better part of it. And you can definitely tell it was a war between, you know, Luto and Rekka. And if it isn't, it's definitely going to be one coming, as we can already see that they're fighting over the Rakuho. So there's that. I mean, that's kind of set up in the world building that we have for this series. And yeah, it's just a very vibrant and fun series. Those are two biggest words that I can take out from it. It's still a little bit more to unpack here, but so far so good with Back Arrow. I mean, I had a fun time enjoying it, but it's like I was saying, when you take a look at the characters, I think that's what's going to sell it the most. Like if you take a look at our character Arrow, for example, he is your run-of-the-mill protagonist. I mean, he's happy-go-lucky. He is, you know, carefree. You know, he kind of has that little bit of naivete to him. And the whole thing with him and his memories, the big thing about that is he keeps saying that he has to get beyond the wall. But everybody looks at that like it's a myth. Like, what are you talking about? There is nothing beyond the wall. Our whole planet is circled around this wall. So what are you talking about? But the key to his memories is getting beyond it, and he's going to get past it no matter what. And Arrow as a character, you'll just feel at home with him as a main character. You know, the shonen tropes are there. The trigger is there. I mean, he feels like the main character in a Trigger series. And again, that's probably intentional. We were introduced to a big number of characters, like I was saying, in season. And when you're dealing with, when you're dealing with an episode of anime or a series, you know, episode 2 is usually when they kind of slow things down, introduce you to the world and open things up. So maybe episode 2, well, I keep saying season 2, I'm already thinking ahead of things, but maybe episode 2 would be the one that will open up, you know, introduce us to the characters, give us a little bit of time to breathe now that they got things out the way as far as what the story is about, and then we can go ahead and get to business as usual. While I don't think this will be a slow burn series, I just don't think it has the staff behind it, especially to be a slow burn series. I don't think it's gonna like draw you in right away. And me personally, because the nature of the series, the staff behind it, I was excited to see it off of principle. But somebody coming into this blind, I don't think that anything in the first episode is there to really draw you into it and go like, oh my god, this is going to be anime of the season yet. But I think if you give it 3 episodes, it's going to open up something magical. I do think it might be something. I kind of feel like it won't be one of the biggest things that's going to be talked about this season. I mean, that's going to be impossible, especially with all the sequels and leftovers and things coming back. But I do think it has the ability to break into that action genre and bring in a certain charm and likeness that people are looking for. I mean, it's a refreshing series. It's more of a series that's not too complicated so far. I mean, trust me, there's some things there that I'm already questioning. Again, just like I was saying, the purpose of the Rakuho and where he's come from and what's beyond the wall. The sci-fi tropes and the questions are there, but at the same time, it feels like it's one that's not too intimidating that you would be left confused. I just think they're just not explaining things yet, and I think it's just going to take a few episodes for this to actually go through it. Now I have to check again. Forgive me, I should have checked before I started the video. I do think this is actually 2 core, so we're going to have the time to flesh it out. Hopefully it is 2 core, because it seems like it's a lot there to unpack, but we'll just have to see where it goes. Okay, so I'm just double checking here, and actually it is 2 core. So Back Arrow is 2 core, so it's going to have the time to flesh things out. And that's good. I'm really happy to see that it's 2 core. We're gonna get 24 episodes, so we'll have time to actually flesh this world out. And it's gonna be more than just, you know, just robot suit action and things like that. So yeah, that's what I feel about Back Arrow. That's my first impressions. I would say definitely go ahead and give it a chance, but give it 3 episodes, because as I just said a few, you know, words ago, it's not going to really draw you in unless you're already into this type of genre. It's not going to be anything amazing or knock your socks off. But I think giving time, and especially giving time with that 2nd episode that's probably going to build everything up, you'll find something that you like with it. I think it's enough charm, it's enough action, and it's enough comedy there to pull you in. For a series debut, I mean, it wasn't the best first episode, but I had fun watching it. But a lot of that, again, is because I'm mecha biased and I want to see where it goes. And it's been one of the better first episodes for some of the things that we got in this genre as of late, because, you know, things like Planet With, and I believe something else came out that I can't remember what it was. I think technically Listeners was supposed to be like a mecha series, but I wasn't feeling that. So I can tell you, I'm going to definitely stick with it. 24 episodes, that's a pretty big commitment. We're going to cover as many as we can, especially with Ruby coming back. So now we'll have 2 things to look out for on this channel. As far as videos, expected, since it airs Friday night, expected, I would say Saturday, Sunday, Monday at the latest. But you'll definitely be getting Back Arrow content from me, or as much as possible. But I will cover it from beginning to end, even if it's just a final review of the series overall. So I'm just going to go ahead and put that safety net for myself there now. But anyway, that's what I thought of Back Arrow, my first impressions. Let me know what you thought of this episode in the comments below. Are you liking the series so far? Are you going to give it a 3-episode test? Are you like me and you're all in? And just give a hand clap for Mecha Anime being back, because we definitely need it. And when you have the staff that you have on this one, it has everything it needs to succeed. It just has to be executed well, because we've been duped before. Decadence. God, that was a horrible series. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and get up out of here. If you liked the video, go ahead and drop a like. And if you want to hear more, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, as there's not shortage of content for you to indulge on this channel. And as I always say, you guys can be anywhere on YouTube right now, but you chose to listen to me. I really appreciate that, so thanks for stopping by. On that note, it's your boy Scott signing out. See you soon.